I hear people say all the time, so what? So there's a problem with trust. Why does that matter to me? Well, it does matter. Trust is not something that's touchy-feely or nice to have. Trust is a hard-nosed business asset which can deliver quantifiable economic value. I suggest you read the summary of the book by Stephen Covey, The Speed of Trust, which is referenced in the description down below. Mistrust has two major costs. Firstly, the money that's available in your pocket, and secondly, in relation to the quality of life index. Let's look at Ireland and the actual tangible costs that have emerged from the massive mistrust over the last number of years. Over the last 20 years alone, I estimate that we have spent billions on the cost of multiple tribunals, including the Beef Tribunal, planning, Abbey Lara, Fennelly, Murphy Report into institutional abuse, all of which have consumed billions of euro of your taxpayers' money, with few, if any, tangible benefits or anybody being held accountable. Look at the costs, the spiralling costs of litigation in our society, where on a daily basis we see millions of euros effectively wasted in conflict, with parties embroiled in legal battles which are fundamentally brought around by a lack of trust between the parties. We have the increasing costs brought about by increasing need of regulation, once again because of mistrust in the transaction of daily business. Look at the higher transactional costs that happen every day in business, whether they be security issues, delivering customer service complaint scenarios, cross-checks brought around because of increased mistrust, and of course the never-ending spiralling cost of insurance. For example, just yesterday I was shocked to find a quote sent to me for insurance for my car for this year 2016 with a price of €902, whereas 1 year ago the same insurance for a car that's perhaps worth €15,000, a 6-year-old car, the 6-year no-claims bonus. I'm 60 years of age and drove less than 5,000 miles last year. Last year's insurance was €409. This means an increase of 125% in my insurance. And worse still, when I emailed back to express my shock and horror, suddenly the bill was reduced, with no reason given, to €576. Where is the trust in that transaction? Look at the wasted costs and time that are spent in freedom of information applications by public servants using obfuscation and delay tactics in refusing to answer reasonable questions. Look at the increasing Garda costs, the cost of legal aid, the cost of employing security companies. Whether in business or in private life, look at the cost that's incurred by people simply not doing what they undertake to do, or worse, denying when they've done something incorrect. This impacts in a very practical way in terms of your take-home pay and disposable income. I estimate that as much as 20% of your income is effectively wasted by the cost of mistrust in our society. Take a look at the quality of life index. In a society where you have low trust, you have low social cohesion, you have lots of suspicion, we have an increase in public order offences, we see gangland violence pouring onto the streets and impacting daily on our lives. If the loss of jobs, worker unrest, lack of loyalty, breach of promise, resulting in low motivation and understandably a high resistance to change, which ultimately affects our productivity nationally and internationally. In fact, I would say that this lack of trust is probably the biggest stealth tax that we are exposed to in Ireland today. This money, which should otherwise be spent on developing services and supporting ourselves within the community, is being wasted as a result of unnecessary expenditure caused by a lack of trust. Stephen Covey puts it quite neatly. A low trust society is a high cost society. The transactional cost of doing business is expensive, where on the other hand a high trust society is one where all of us will experience a trust dividend. A third and very important feature of a low-trust society is that it induces in the best of us a paralysis, a lethargy, a low level of self-esteem and belief that we personally can do anything about changing our situation. In our apathy, we say, what's the point? What can you or I do to change? Sure, no one is ever held accountable. Nothing will ever change. In this low-trust society, with an inherent loss of authenticity, we get used to the concepts of the checks in the post, haha, or else caveat emptor, buyer beware. Your problem, not mine. For me, it's like the quote from the film Thelma and Louise. You get what you settle for. The minute that you settle for less than you deserve, you get even less than what you settled for. And the highest standard you will achieve is the lowest standard you are prepared to accept. And this is what the Isohalo Campaign 2016 to rebuild public trust in politics is fundamentally about.